Earth, my body, water, my blood, air, my breath, and fire, my spirit. Earth, my body, water, my blood, air, my breath, and fire, my spirit. Authenticity and vulnerability catalyze the journey back home to who you truly are. The sacred masculine is not afraid to reveal all of himself. He knows that he is perfect in his imperfection and that it is human to be flawed. What matters is that he is always striving to be a better version of himself, as well as accepting himself fully. He is committed to removing the masks of conditioning to reveal his true, authentic self. Hello, and welcome to the 10th episode of the Bring Him Home Sacred Masculinity Rising podcast series. Our time and space to explore principles, stories, and experiences of what it looks like to embody and walk the road of the sacred masculine. My name is Miguel Deans, and I'm the author of Bring Him Home, a twin flame love story, which is my true story of a conscious, passionate, loving relationship with an extraordinary woman, and how it played a significant role in the rising of my own sacred masculinity and the courageous journey I embarked on from my head back to my heart. My intention is that through sharing my personal love story in the book and creating this podcast series, I will provide listeners with ideas of how they can catalyze their own journey to sacred masculinity. And this will in turn facilitate the divine twin flame union within the hearts of many men and women, so that we can create a more beautiful world for our children and the generations to come. Find out more about my book and the rest of my work at my website, migueldeans.net. Anyway, let's get started on the 9th principle, which we're going to touch on today, which focuses on authenticity and vulnerability. The principle is, I allow myself to be authentic and vulnerable because I am good enough just as I am. So this brings us really to this enormous question. Who am I? Who am I? Who is the authentic me? Who is it underneath these layers of conditioning and this programming and these ideas, these beliefs that we've absorbed as we've grown up? Who really is me? It's a tricky one. And in a way, it's like the layers of an onion, really. It seems that so much of my life and the journey of the sacred masculine is a journey of unlearning. It's a journey of falling away, of letting go of these layers of belief and programming. And then we see gradually what we're left with. And that is who we are. We arrive, as this baby. That is the full I am, the full who we are. And then all these different things happen to us, and we don't know how much is us and how much is just imposed upon us. For a long time, I was really struggled to choose my clothes. I didn't know what sort of clothes I liked. I didn't know what I felt good in, because when I was growing up, I didn't have the choice. My parents just said that they, bought me the clothes, or they were hand-me-downs, and it was like, this is what you're wearing. And I didn't know until just like maybe 5-10 years ago. I didn't really begin to get a sense of, what do I feel good wearing? What feels good for me? And it's a bit like that with this question, who am I? There's a difference between comfortable with who we are and who we think we should be. Because we're all unique and we're all different, but there's this general consensus that in some way that we're supposed to be the same, that society wants us to be sheep and to fit in and not stand out. This is something that's really prevalent, isn't it, when we're at school and when we're young. But the road to sacred masculinity is revealing this truth. Who am I? And uncovering who we really are. And it's something that goes beyond, I believe, it goes beyond what we can comprehend with our mind, the truth of who we are. Well, I think the question more for me is like, what am I? Because I know that I am a human being, but I'm also a spiritual being having a human experience. What am I? Because the question, who am I, assumes that I'm a person, and I am more than a person. We're this incredible combination of, yes, animal, human being, and this spiritual light being, a fusion of the two, of heaven and earth, the paradox of this humanness. So one of the things that happened to me that helped me reveal who I am, the authentic me, was when I went on a retreat for 5 days, it was, in some rewilded land in Wales, in the United Kingdom. And we prepared for 1 day. We did preparation work, and then there was the 3 days of ceremony and fasting. And then there was a day of integration, reintegration afterwards. And during those 3 days, we fasted. And we lived on the land, and we lived separately. We would come together for voice work and breath work, and to sit in circle around the fire and speak from our hearts. And the majority of time, we would then go back to a little bivvy that we had, just in a little secluded place in the hills, and we would spend time with ourselves. And I just got something really happened, something really profound there, and I kind of fell in love with the earth. You know, and as we fall in love with the earth, we tend to fall in love more with ourselves, because we are of the earth. Earth, my body; water, my blood; air, my breath; fire, my spirit. We are made up of all these elements. We are this alchemy. And I realized when I was on the land that I enjoyed the being barefoot. And I enjoyed feeling the wind in my hair. And something changed inside me. And from that day, that week that we did that ceremony of reconnecting with the earth and reconnecting with ourselves, the deepest place inside, a descent inside, and then a rising, I began my own rewilding, like the land that I was staying on, and I stopped cutting my hair. And I thought, yeah, I don't want to cut my hair. Why do I cut my hair? I want to let it grow. If nature says let it grow, then let it grow. If it was meant to be short, it would just stop at a certain length, like a dog's hair. But my hair grows, and I want to allow it to do what it wants to do. I don't need to fit in. I love to feel the wind in my hair. And I stopped using cosmetics. I believe in the saying that, if you wouldn't put it in your mouth, then don't put it on your body. And I stopped using shampoos and soaps and different creams and things that I've been using, because I just wanted to live more naturally, more in alignment with the natural laws. And you'll be pleased to know I don't smell. I shower daily with water, and I make my own natural moisturizing cream from shea butter and coconut oil and some essential oils and some almond oil. It's really simple. We don't need all this stuff, these smells and potions and lotions to cover up the smell of who we really are. So that was my rewilding. That was me going back more to my authentic self and just being natural, just being comfortable with who I am, who I choose to be, what feels good to me. The natural laws are always a good indication for me. How does nature do it? This is the way of the sacred masculine, I believe. We take the masks off to reveal who we really are. And what of vulnerability? Being authentic and being vulnerable. The dictionary says that to be vulnerable is to be exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. I don't believe in being attacked. Yeah, there were times when I was physically assaulted a lot as a child and as a young man at times. But what I know is that our focus determines our reality. Once I got to choose and become more conscious, I chose the places where I was, and I choose the people who I hang out with. I don't believe in fear. I don't believe in protection. No, that's not right. I don't believe in protection, but I do believe in fear. You know, fear is a natural state to keep us safe. But I feel increasingly that the more authentic and the more real, there is nothing for me to fear. I don't need to fear being attacked by, emotionally, and certainly not physically. And if it does, I'll deal with it, but it won't stop me doing what I feel is right. It won't stop me following my path. People sometimes said to me, "Oh, Miguel, you're a light worker. You need to protect yourself from the darkest spirits and energies." And I've always just shaken my head and said, "There is nothing. I don't buy into that. I believe that there is only love and there is only good in the world. There is pain and there are lost people, but love is the answer to everything, not protection. Protection comes from a place of fear. So I'm okay being vulnerable. I'm okay being who I am, because when something challenging or uncomfortable happens, then I will learn from it. Perhaps if I'm attacked, perhaps then I need to learn that perhaps I shouldn't have been in that place. There's always something to learn. I was attacked verbally at a conference recently. I was speaking and I was saying how I was talking about how the Native Americans sometimes had a matriarch at the top of their council. And I said, I'm not suggesting that we have our governments made up of just women. And a woman shouted out from the audience, "Why not?" And I said, because it's time for balance. It's time for balance of the masculine and the feminine, of men and women. And I felt a little attacked by that comment. And it wobbled me just a little bit. But it was a great gift because it made me just check in with myself afterwards. I thought, what was it about being heckled? What was it about that? It made me just look inside. Do you believe in what you're speaking about, Miguel? How do you respond when somebody challenges you? And I felt that I did okay. When we walk this path of the sacred masculine and do as I do and start putting yourself out there and saying, this is the path of the sacred masculine. I am endeavoring to embody the sacred masculine. That will press people's buttons. But will it stop me doing what I believe is my path? What I believe that my life has been preparing me for? Who knows, maybe I'm a bit deluded. But it seems to have a positive impact on the people that I come into contact with, and it serves me. Maybe it's just a story, but don't we all just create our own stories of how life works and the meaning and purpose behind what we're doing here? This story of the sacred masculine seems to benefit others, and it nourishes me. So that's good enough for me. Being vulnerable, showing up just as we are, and sometimes we don't feel like being seen. Our ego tells us we should only show up when we're feeling all shiny and good and positive and clear. But when we're vulnerable, we give others permission to be imperfect. Because that's the truth. We all struggle. We all fall down. We're all cracked pots. We're all imperfect. And in being vulnerable and allowing our vulnerability to be seen, it gives others permission to be that themselves. Everybody can just breathe a sigh of relief and relax and go, oh, it's not just me that gets it wrong or gets lost or has bad days or bad weeks. We don't need to pretend. We don't need to hide. And it's an ongoing practice. This being vulnerable, there always seem to be deeper levels that life asks of me. How vulnerable can you get? But the more comfortable we are with our vulnerability, the more we regain our power. Vulnerability is a superpower. It's part of being authentic. Can't be authentic and just pretend that you're Mr. Sorted all the time. So the sacred masculine knows about being authentic and being vulnerable. And he's a work in progress, always doing his best to be more authentic and more vulnerable. So I'll share a piece that I wrote which alludes to this vulnerability and this authenticity which I speak of. It's called Yesterday I Fell. The challenges have been coming too quick and fast, and I didn't have enough time to regroup and center myself. I forgot about me and tried to carry too much. The fear touched some tender scars, and the discomfort in my body clouded my vision, and I lost sight of who I really am. My little boy got scared, and the man was a little too hard on him. Yesterday I fell. I held space for those who I was responsible for as best I could, and gave my best, knowing that it was good enough. In the giving I received, and I was reminded of my worth. It needed to be a gentle day. Everything that was not immediately necessary was put on hold while I rested in my falling, while I viewed everything from my new vantage point in the corner of my world, with my arms hugging my tucked up knees and my head bowed. I rocked myself gently. Yesterday I fell, and yet my friend phoned asking if now was a good time to call, and I replied that the timing was perfect, and I gave thanks for the beauty of friends and connection, and I spoke my truth from a tender, vulnerable place inside me, and I missed him when he was gone. Yesterday I fell, and still I moved around the grey alien landscape of the supermarket, buying groceries that would be needed for the imminent arrival of my son, so that there would be some wholesome sustenance for both of us. I moved around the distant world, getting stuff done, and the shapes of people were unaware that I had fallen. Yesterday I fell, and still my soul heard the call, and my heavy legs walked the sanctuary of my hills, plodding my way up to the summit and turning to face the sun that appeared momentarily from behind the thick, mottled clouds. I lay and allowed my body to be held by the earth, and I breathed it all in and breathed it all out, allowing the sun's rays into my wide open mouth, and then gulped and swallowed lungs full of sunshine into me. Yesterday I fell, and so I took myself to bed early and snuggled myself under the comfort of my warm, soft covers and felt my fallenness. I felt the heavy sensations in my tired body, and with my mind I caressed my weariness. Yesterday I fell, and today I awake to the sound of rain outside my open window. The clouds have broken and let fall their cleansing drops, and the air feels fresher and lighter again. There was not a spectacular sunrise to be seen today, but nevertheless, a new day has dawned. My tender heart reminds me to go gently, for today I rise again. Today is a new day, and today I rise, and I am at peace, knowing that all is well, and all manner of things shall be well, in spite of the fact, and partly because yesterday I fell. The sacred masculine knows that it's okay to fall. We can't be expected to be upright and good and strong all the time. That's not real. That's not authentic. It's not how we fall, but how we rise that counts. The sacred masculine knows there is no such thing as failure, but only feedback about what he needs to do differently when he falls. He is not afraid to push himself to his limits because his self-worth is strong and steady, and he is not perturbed by how others will judge him. He can be vulnerable. He is at peace with all of himself, and so he can reveal his full authenticity. It's time for the blessing, which I wrote for the front of my book, Bring Him Home, a twin flame love story. May the energy of this podcast be a catalyst for the union of the divine feminine and masculine energies within the hearts of all men and women. May we have the willingness and determination to make the journey from our heads back to our hearts. May we learn to father and mother ourselves and take care of our inner child. And may we remember what it is to love ourselves, each other, all sentient beings, and this sacred earth, for ourselves, our children, and the generations to come. Thank you for joining me today. I am Miguel Deans, catalyzing the twin flame union of divine masculine and feminine energies within the hearts of men and women. I am the author of my new book, Bring Him Home, a twin flame love story, published by Sacred Stories and available online through Amazon and booksellers worldwide. I'd like to invite you to subscribe to this podcast and to join me next time, where we will explore the 10th principle of sacred masculinity, which is, I embrace the challenges life brings me with resilience and perseverance, knowing that these experiences are also gifts. Until we meet again, be well. Aho.